and Superintendent, we can follow up with you. Next speaker, Reagan Peabody.
That's me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Foreman.
Disorderly product news. Disorderly product news. Disorderly product news.
And the events that followed. As you may know, I've experienced firsthand the impacts of the protests here in Chicago. And without getting into a lot of details, I was indeed involved in a situation where I was struck by a police officer in an unfortunate situation that took place on the 31st, as been previously reported. It is an ongoing investigation. I have filed a complaint with COPA. And so I actually am kind of going through the process that we, the police board, are typically called upon to make decisions on. While I'm not, happy the fact that I'm going through this situation, it has allowed me to kind of take a different perspective and take the perspective of looking at this. I think in the moment that we're looking for right now, in terms of what can we do to improve the process of accountability.
Protest as an opportunity to steal and vandalize property. The bulk of the lawlessness happened over the weekend that spanned from May 29th to May 31st. Chicago police arrested 1,360 individuals during this 3-day span. Most of those arrests were related to disorderly conduct charges tied to the period of civil unrest. There were also 213 people arrested for looting during that 2-day weekend. Officers worked 12-hour shifts, and all their days off were canceled during those 10 days. During those 10 days also, 538 guns were recovered by our officers during a 10-day period. CPD also saw more than 200 officers injured on duty during the stretch of civil unrest. I've seen tremendous resolve in our officers throughout this trying time, but I also have seen misconduct that is unacceptable. I stripped several officers of their police powers because of this misconduct. Some officers were spat on. They received verbal abuse. They dodged rocks and bottles and bricks and maintained their composure. But others disgraced the star. Let the people of Chicago know that the loud cries of police reform have not fallen on deaf ears. The consent decree gives Chicago an advantage over other cities that are also looking to make meaningful changes to their
investigating them. Unlike many other cities around the country, the breadth of COPA's investigative jurisdiction and the ability to independently conduct thorough investigations is what sets us apart from many other cities whose civilian oversight body lacks the authority to investigate.
By the Open Meetings Act has considered in a closed meeting several disciplinary cases. The board will now take final action on these cases. Regarding case number 19, PB 2965, is there a motion to find police officer Virginia O'Donnell guilty of being intoxicated while on duty, disobeying a direct order, and violating medical role procedures, and to discharge her from the Chicago Police Department?
Aye.
Zop?
Aye.
And myself, I vote in favor of the motion. Regarding case number 19 PB 2957, is there a motion to find police officer Tabitha Tabb not guilty of making false reports, guilty of disobeying orders regarding secondary employment, and to suspend her from the Chicago Police Department for a period of 120 days? Sweeney?
Aye.
Zop?
Aye.
And I also vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Crowd, 19 PB 2967. Is there a motion to find police officer Jose Velasquez guilty of engaging in an unjustified altercation and displaying his weapon while intoxicated and off duty, and to suspend him from the police department for a period of 180 days? With the second, I will now call on members of the board for their.
So they're deciding on whether an officer who brandished his weapon while he was inebriated should keep his job. That's a criminal offense. He should have been arrested. There's a judge on this 9-member panel, the Police Oversight Board. I would have liked to ask her, if I got caught drunk brandishing my firearm and I worked at Walgreens and I took a bench trial, lost, would you consider calling up Walgreens and having them suspend me for 120 days as punishment? Would you consider that, Your Honor? I obviously do not know all the elements of the case, but if I had to pick out a law that's most applicable to what he described, it would be aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. But the board has not voted yet, so let's go back and see how they vote.
Wolf,
This is Paula Wolf. I vote against the motion. I vote to discharge the officer from the department.
Crowell,
Aye.
Edie,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Montez,
Aye.
O'Malley,
Aye.
Sweeney,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
and I vote against the motion. I vote to discharge the officer from the department. I will now call upon members of the public who signed up in advance to speak. Each speaker. Brad Redrick.
Yes, good evening, and thank you to the police board for letting us speak. Welcome to Superintendent Brown. I want to piggyback a little bit on a problem that was mentioned earlier about this midnight block party caravan that's going on. It's been moving around. The behavior that was described, what was left out was that we have strippers that have been unemployed by the COVID-19 shutdown, and so that's part of the activity. There's money being made. They're selling guns. They're selling stolen stuff that probably was looted from the stores in the back of trunks. So this is a caravan of about 300 to 500 kids moving around between districts. So in some situation, I know some people who in a different district, when they left our area, they went into their area and the police were called for 5 hours and did not show up. This activity has been going on over the last 3 weeks solid. And last weekend we had somebody that got shot that had something to do. It was one of the leaders of this group. So it's a very dangerous activity that's going on. And the kids are clever. They're using the smartphones. So I just wanted to point out that perhaps the department can come with a strategy that can address the fact that how they move around.
Next speaker, Reagan Peabody.
That's me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Foreman. First, I would like to say hello to Superintendent Brown. Superintendent Brown, I would say your resolve is beyond reproach. If you can make it through this, you've been put into a firestorm, and that is not lost on the people of Chicago. You were put into a mess that we have never seen before. Second of all, I would like to congratulate the chairman and the co-chairman, Wolf. Now, you're telling me this officer brandishes a weapon while he was inebriated, yet you're keeping him on the force. That is not a policy violation. Tucking in your shirt, a policy violation. That's a criminal violation. That man should be fired. I have video at disorderlyproductnews.com of officers urinating on buildings, of Commander Spencer spitting on me when he was a lieutenant. He got 2 merit promotions because he couldn't pass the sergeant's, nor could he pass the lieutenant's exam. And he assaulted and battered me. And in the middle of an internal affairs investigation, right after Beck got rid of merit promotions, they put him up to commander. Without merit promotions, he would still be an officer. Now, I want to give my hope and trust into you, Mr. Brown. I understand that you've come into a firestorm that nobody's ever seen the likes of. But Snelling, the man urinating on the building, the people in 11 watched me get jumped by a mob because they don't like my reporting on Disorderly Product News. Now, the stuff I have on disorderly product news that I've caught officers doing, it pales. It makes the guy giving 2 fingers look like a nun. But that doesn't make the news. So there's no big Bobby Rush scandal. But go to disorderly product news and see what's really going on the streets.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is
So there you guys go. That was a meeting held over Zoom because of the conditions of the bird flu. Anyways, that was the first time in which I was able to talk to Superintendent Brown. We have to give everybody a fair shake. Anybody that's blaming this on Superintendent Brown is just looking to cast blame away from them. The man has been on the job for a month, and 2 world-changing events happened. Definitely, yeah, well, we could say world-changing in what happened in Minneapolis and the bird flu. I don't know if he knew where the south, west, and north sides were at that point. Here's a man who took up the reins for the 2nd largest municipal police force in the nation. And these are the type of problems he's having in his first month and a half. And let's not forget, a lot of you may not know this, but he used to be the police chief of Dallas. Within the first 7 weeks of his tenure there, his son was killed by Lancaster, Texas police officers. I'll let you read the article. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. Into it also, his brother was killed by drug dealers, and his partner at the academy was killed back in 1988. So this is a man whose path in life is well worn. The least we can do is stand behind him. My name is Disorderly Product News, wishing you and yours a very happy and healthy, safe work week. Good night.